Most people have a business idea, they get the resources they need, and then they go off and start the business, right? Of course, things happen, the business doesn't work out, it fails. And then they remember some statistic that they read, okay? Some line that said something like 9 out of every 10 businesses fail. And without asking themselves, why exactly did those 9 businesses fail? They just assume that is a permission to start 8 more business because 9 will fail and then, the last one will. Look, truth is, if you fail to learn from your mistakes, you will just repeat them and lose money in the process. So having said that, let's talk about the forces, okay, that you need to pay attention to avoid failing, okay, to avoid your business failing. And before we do that, just remember, if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe, okay? Help us grow the channel, see if we can get to 100,000 subscribers or something. Also remember, we have videos, downloads, practice exercises. You can access those on in our website, zerodnetwork.com. Now, the first thing you need to understand is that, yes, if you have a business idea, go for it, right? You don't need to read like 10,000 books. You don't need to watch a lot of videos. Most things just come down to execution, okay? Most things in business just come down to execution, how good you are at executing. You just need to understand the market you're dealing with. And so the real question is, what is it about your market that you need to know? So let's talk about 5 things, okay? 5 things that you need to know about the market you're dealing with to avoid failure as far as your business is concerned. And the first one is, what is the nature of competition in that space? Remember, just because you have an idea, okay, just because you have an idea that can solve a given problem in a given market, doesn't necessarily mean that you are the only one with that idea. In fact, most of the time, the things you think of are not even that new, okay? They're probably new to you, but they're not necessarily new to the universe or new to the market that you exist in. In fact, most people don't even care how unique your idea is. They just care about their problems. And so the question becomes, who are the people competing, okay? Who are the people competing to solve the same problem that you're solving? That is like the question you need to ask yourself. Okay, there is a problem. That is all that the customers, in that market care for, okay? And actually not the problem. They care about a solution to that problem, right? So then the question is, who else is solving this thing? Because those, whether directly or indirectly, become your competitors. Let's say you start a garbage collection business or even a landscaping business. Because let's face it, it doesn't matter where you live, okay? There's always going to be a need for garbage to be collected. Well, as far as landscaping, it might vary if you live like in an apartment or anything. But if you live in like suburbs or whatever, the landscaping becomes, it's one of those businesses that is just always going to be there. There is no way around it unless you just decide to cut everything and build the so-called concrete jungle. When it comes to something like garbage collection, you can solve it alone by digging pits and disposing the garbage, okay? Or you can depend on the local council to solve it. Or have private contractors take care of it. And the same to a certain degree can be said about landscaping, right? In the case of landscaping, the competition will vary by region. And so the point there is, with landscaping, as we said, if you live in the city center, then there's that, okay? You won't be seeing landscapes. What you'll be seeing will be dusty roads, no roads, potholes. But again, if you live in the suburbs, then there's going to be, landscape, okay? There's going to be fence and all these things that need to be taken care of. So let's say those are the 2 businesses you're using, right? Because they affect everybody, garbage collection, landscaping. So in case of homeowners or people living in suburb areas, competition might be intense with established players offering bundle services, e.g. lawn care, irrigation, tree trimming. And so as a new business, okay, we just get into that market. So then how exactly do you compete and what exactly are you going to do to increase the chances that you can win in this case? So you're probably going to be doing things like, pricing, okay? You can compete with pricing, specialized services, or superior customer service. Now, with something like garbage, that could be a challenge, okay? The challenge could be the local council, or the city council, or the county council, depending on how you call the municipal council. The point is, you can collect garbage, but then the question is, what do you do with it after that? That is why you're probably going to be needing those contracts. Or you can find a company that already has a contract, and then you subcontract with them. And that in itself means that company is also going to be a competitor because they can just cut the contract or just give it to someone else. Okay, there's that. While conducting your analysis, okay, of the competition, you can look at things like online reviews of competitors, check pricing models, see if local businesses offer monthly service subscriptions to find gaps in the market. I see that can help with something like the landscaping business. But what about garbage collection? Well, in this case, you're just going to have to, you can do the door-to-door thing, okay, where you could assess whether homeowners are frustrated with current services, things like slow pickups, and offer a faster or more specialized solution, such as same-day pickup, hazardous waste removal, etc. So the idea there was just, you're starting a business, okay? You need to figure out who exactly you're going to be competing with in that market. And the business in this case, we've gone with landscaping and garbage collection. And so, you can, how do you assess the competition? Either ask the homeowners what's their take on those two services and the problems they're having and solve them. Go online, check reviews, look at the pricing strategies used by the other competitors. The point is, you always have to assume there are people who want your market share, and so you have to win. Now, let's look at the next one. Number 2, how easy is it to get in that space? So, if you've ever read the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, okay? It's a nice book. It's one of those books that you must read if you really want to be a good entrepreneur. So either find the audio version, get the PDF. The point is, yeah, it's a nice book, 0 to 1, okay? Anyway, the idea is you want to create a monopoly around your business because competition just means that you are competing away the profit. Now, take something like YouTube, okay? So YouTube, anybody with a Gmail account already has a YouTube account. That's the thing. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube account. The difference is that you're just not posting content. And then you go to the gym, you start taking some videos, and suddenly you think you are a fitness influencer. Or you cook, and then you record some videos of yourself cooking, and you think you are Gordon Ramsay. What's the point here? The point is, if entry to the market is so low, okay, is low, competition will be high, and so you have to bring your A game. Now, there are certain things that can create high entry, or rather can create a high barrier, okay, make it difficult to enter into that market. So in this case, we're talking about things like capital, permits, technology, and so that's the thing. You really need to look at the market and ask yourself, how easy is it to get into that market? Okay, because if it is easy to get into that market, then it means you're going to be dealing with a lot of competitors. Anyway, so here's an example. Now, in the landscaping business, the barrier to entry is low, okay? Anyone with basic equipment can start. However, scaling requires branding, customer trust, and repeat business. With garbage collection, on the other hand, what exactly do you need to get into that market? Well, you'll need things like trucks, okay? Permits, landfill agreement. And if you're thinking, okay, what about the permits and all that stuff? And look, as I said, sometimes you don't need to. Yeah, there is the big company that got the contract from the council, right? And that big company may not be in a position to access everyone. Like, think about the way people live in the cities. There are those posh areas where garbage is always going to be collected. And then there are those less posh areas, I don't know what to call them, not slums. They're just, those areas that are between posh and slums, there, in between there. Okay? There are estates, apartments. These people have to take garbage out. So what do? Like, you go there, talk to the landlord, say, look, could you add extra amount in the rent? And then every Friday or every Saturday, I'll be showing up here, giving them the garbage, those things for carrying garbage. They'll be disposing them, or could be a bucket or whatever it is. Pick them and then put them in my truck or whatever it is, dump them somewhere, and then that big company that got the contract will come and collect, and then you'll share. Look, you just have to learn to negotiate is all I'm saying. Okay? If you're a small company trying to make it in this world, then, and you can't access the permits, then negotiate with a big company. Speaking of negotiation, okay, I have a course, okay? I have an entire tutorial on hours worth of content, videos, downloads, practice exercises on negotiation. So you can check that one out. I've linked it below, okay? Or just go to zeroatnetwork.com. Anyway, check out the description, access that course, learn to negotiate in commercial negotiation and procurement and supply. It will help you. Anyway, let's move on. demand and supply side of your business is the next thing you have to understand. And that means looking at the buyer and supplier's position in the market. Remember, demand, that just means the buyer. Supply, that just means the seller. So let's talk about that. So number 3, how powerful are the suppliers? See, all businesses are going to have some form of supply chain. All of them, okay? So there's going to be some form of supply chain, which is why any procurement student, any supply chain student who's thinking, what business can I start? It's like, look, whatever you're doing is part of any business you can think of. Because in any business, there's going to be a supplier and their supplier and their supplier, basically upstream operation. There's going to be buyers and their buyers and their buyers, basically downstream operations. So in terms of economics, that means there is supply and there is demand, which means there are suppliers, and these suppliers could be strong. So the question here is, what exactly can make a supplier strong? And that means you need to understand the relative bargaining power of suppliers in the market, okay? So some of the things that can make suppliers strong in a given market would include things like, number 1, there are few suppliers and many buyers. And if there are few suppliers and there are many buyers, it means the buyers desperately need the suppliers. And so the suppliers control that market. There is some form of monopoly. So from the business that you're using as an example, so in terms of garbage collection, so if a garbage collection company relies on one landfill in an area, then the landfill operator can raise disposal fees without losing business. And the other thing also is, number 2, if it is expensive, the cost of switching from one supplier to the other one. If that cost is expensive, then the suppliers are strong. You see this with mobile phone companies where, like, if there is one mobile phone company that has a lot of subscribers or has a lot of users, and there is another one that is cheaper. So if you try to switch and go to the cheaper one, the problem is most of your friends are in the one that has a lot of subscribers. And so they make it expensive to call the cheaper one. So yes, you can go to the cheaper one and you can call your friends, but then them calling you back, they have to think twice about their phone plan, okay? So that's just a technique to make it expensive to switch. So that is that. Now, if you are landscape, okay, so in case of a landscaping business, so if your landscaping business has invested heavily in equipment that only works with a specific brand of parts or tools, then the supplier of those parts can charge high prices and then that makes it difficult for you. So look, the point is, we're not trying to make a very long video here. Just think of it this way. There are many factors that can make a supplier to be strong. And so you need to know those factors. Now let's move on to the next one. Number 4, is it a buyer's market? So in this case, we're talking about the demand side of things. Remember, supplier, that was the supply side of things. The buyer, that's the demand side of things. So if buyers are strong, then it's a buyer's market. And so you need to know that, because while you might be buying things from a supplier, you are selling things to the buyers. And so that makes you the supplier. Remember, it's supply chain. Okay, at one point you're playing the supplier, at another point you're playing the buyer. So you're bouncing between supply and demand at any given moment. Now, in YouTube, for example, viewers can just scroll past videos and there isn't much creators can do, because in that case, the buyers are strong. So the viewers in this case are the buyers. Now, what are some of the things that will make a buyer powerful or strong? And these are things like when buyers can buy in large quantities, so they have more leverage to negotiate better prices or terms. And if you think about something like, the garbage collection, right? Now, when dealing with a large apartment complex or municipality that generates high waste volume, parties can demand lower rates from garbage collection companies. And so again, if there are only few buyers in that market, then that means the buyers are strong, because there are many suppliers who have to compete for these buyers' attention. And in landscaping business, if few large property management companies dominate the local market, then they can dictate terms to landscapers. Now, there are other factors that can also affect the bargaining power of a buyer. In this case, we're talking about things like availability of substitute products or service, low switching costs. The point is, understand demand and supply economics. Don't ignore that. And then you'll understand what is happening in your market. Now, number 5, are there alternative solutions to the ones that you're offering? Look, you're solving a problem and you're getting paid. So the issue here is the problem. So anything else that can solve that problem, even if it isn't similar to what you are selling, then that becomes your competitor. For example, if you're selling a pen, then anything that does what a pen does is directly competing with the pen, even if it isn't a pen, like your mobile phone. You can take notes on a mobile phone. Even have those voice recorders. Okay, you can record voice and then it will turn it into written text and things of that nature. Laptops, okay? All these things are competing with the pens. You're like, yeah, well, they're only selling mobile phones. They're not selling pens, and therefore you're not in competition. Yes, you are in competition. It's just a question of how intense is that competition. It's the same as being bored, okay? When you're bored, you can go to the gym. It will take care of your boredom, okay? You can watch a movie. It will take care of your boredom. Those two are not the same. So you always have to ask yourself, what are the alternatives? Who else is solving this problem that I am solving? And that becomes your competitor. Look, the point here was very simple. There are 5 things that you need to understand about the market you are in to avoid failing in your business. We've talked about them. If there is any question, ask. I'll see you in the next video.